Good morning, LBC Radio. My name is Corey Rosen, and I am with the Story Podcast. Today I have two special guests, Matt and Carol. Matt and Carol are married best friends, entertaining and touching lives with a guitar and two voices for over 30 years. Matt and Carol have had a lot of fun on stage. Since the late 1980s, their music has carried audiences through laughter, tears, telling stories, and moving them closer to the ones they love most. Carol's charming voice calls the listener back to the days of Amy Grant, Karen Carpenter, and Patsy Cline, while Matt's guitar provides a musical foundation built on layers of country, folk, and jazz. Smooth, sparkling harmonies mix with powerful emotion to breathe new life into modern hits, traditional standards, hymns, and their own heartwarming songs celebrating real life and real love. They've appeared in concert from New Jersey to Nashville, performing over 350 events each year, close to 4,000 since 2010. You may have seen them at events sponsored by American Cruise Lines, Berkshire Hathaway, Orvis Stores, Dickey's Barbecue Pit, U.S. Army, National Street Rod Association, York Revolution, and Lancaster Barnstormers Baseball, National Day of Prayer, and many more. Our love started in music, Matt says. We've played together as friends since 1988, as husband and wife since 1993. Sometimes it was hard and it looked like we wouldn't make it, but we weren't quitting. As we revealed ourselves to God and each other, He healed us and brought us into the sweet life, hence the name. And we're still best friends after all these years, and Carol agrees. Music is a huge part of our marriage, and that relationship is the foundation for our songs. They've released 5 full-length records and dozens of singles. With roughly 1,000 song credits, they are still writing their own love story and creating snapshots of important moments and family events. Their latest full-length release, self-titled Sweet Life, is their closest audio representation of their hearts and minds thus far, and you can find that music and events at their website, www.sweetlifemusic.com. Matt and Carol, how are you guys doing today?
Hello, great. Glad to be with you today.
Yep. Good to be here.
Yeah, so what was it like for either of you what inspired you guys to do music? Was it through your worship at your church as a kid? Was it your parents that maybe sang songs to you guys? Was it albums, the radio? What was it that really inspired you to get into music?
Just a love of music.
Yeah, I think we were both musical pretty much from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Just, sort of came out of the belly like that. Just love music. My mother and I would sing. I remember that. Just always hearing music in my head since I was little. I think you too.
Mm-hmm.
So when was it that you decided to pick up a guitar and start playing for yourself?
For me, it was for my 15th birthday, and I told my mom I wanted a guitar, and she got me one. And the lessons came along with that, which I wasn't super cool on at first. But that worked out real well. So I took about 5 years of private instruction and then just sort of went off from there and kept learning on my own. In fact, learning to this very day.
So what was it like when you wrote your own song? Are you the primary songwriter or is it Carol?
We're a team.
It's a team.
Yeah, absolutely a team. Generally, I'm I don't know, we'll kind of come up with it's different ways, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll do. Sometimes it's just sort of there and whole and formed, and other times we need to just hammer it out, and then hammer it some more, and then hammer it a third time. Yeah, so it's really just a blend of however.
Did either of you ever write music before you met each other?
I didn't.
I did. Yeah.
Do those songs still exist?
Yeah, but no one's ever going to hear them. Yeah, let's just say they were the practice.
Right. Well, it's the truth. So you got to write songs you got to write 1,000 songs, and from there you can pick a few.
Exactly.
It's just like any other skill. You have to keep practicing to get better and better at it. No one's ever going to hear the first of my songs because they were not very good songs, and I don't even remember half my first songs.
That's probably good.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing, because I would regret it now. So, did you ever go to gigs as a kid, or how did you start getting into the performance side of music?
Well, I had a teacher that really pushed me and a couple of the other kids that were just, she saw something in us. And so, yeah, she was really, really instrumental in that. Got into my first band a year after I got my guitar and wasn't really that good at it. So I was more the singer. And the 4 or 5 of us sort of all came up together and worked out all the problems and got better at the craft during that time. And after high school, that all kind of split up and went away. So that's when I met Carol, was right after all of that. So I was looking for a group or something to be part of, and that's how I met you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I came up after a solo concert, and she said, my band needs a guitar player. And I said, cool, I need a gig. So auditioned, and it worked out. And that went on for a while.
Maybe 2 years.
Was it 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was with another married couple, and they split up. Or they didn't split up. They left the band.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I would say that the right way. They left the band, so we just decided to go on as a duo.
So what was it like to organize yourselves as a band in your like later teenage years, at the time as it was? When would this be around? The later 80s?
Yeah, we met in '88, so it was after that.
So what was it like, the music scene, to get a gig? Was it a bunch of calling? Was it a bunch of was email even around back then?
No, email wasn't around at that point. It was mostly just if you knew somebody on the Christian side, if you knew somebody at a church, you would call that person or write the church a letter. I think that's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, you would just start to get that momentum, and you would get more known, and then people would start to call you. But it would have all been phone. Generally, I guess the telephone would have been the way to do it back then.
So where were you guys based in at that time? Was it here?
Western York County.
Western York County. So you guys have always been around New York.
We've always been in central PA here. Yeah.
Gotcha. So in my experience, churches usually don't have private concerts or bring in outside talent. So is that like a thing that's been around here, or did you guys have to specifically find churches that were willing to put you guys on?
I would say more that's a rarer thing. Like you said, that was a rarer thing to encounter. So it was a lot of phone calls, a lot of digging.
Did you guys ever decide to move into the secular spaces, like bars, coffee houses, etc.?
We did that in the early '90s for a long time, and we just didn't really fit there.
In what ways?
Well, basically, we went in there trying to do the songs that we thought everybody wanted to hear. So we were trying to do that, late '80s, early '90s stuff, and trying to just put a few of our own in there. And just, I don't know, that's just not our people, if you will. And
right, yes.
A lot of times what would happen is the bartenders and the bar owners wouldn't like us very much because the people would quit drinking. So, since that's what you're there to do, is to encourage that. So it's, we don't really drink, so it's not something that was really like for us to go encourage people to go do that. So yeah, that's what would happen. They would get into what we were doing or their conversations or whatever, but their sales would go down, so they wouldn't hire us back.
We didn't tell them to stop or anything.
No, we never said anything about like, no, you shouldn't be doing that or anything. We just played the songs we thought they wanted to hear and just were ourselves. And I guess God just was using that.
Did you ever think of that as a ministry?
To play in the bars? I know that exists, and there's a lot of folks that do it. I know some of them, and they can just sit down at the bar and order a water or a Coke and talk to the guy next to him, and that man ends up giving his life to Jesus Christ. That's not something that we're really called to, at least from our experience.
It's an interesting thing. It's something I've a little bit focused my life on. I've viewed my time going around and playing music at different bars as everybody knows that if you're gonna offer me a drink, it's always no, or any other, and it's no. So it's always interesting to talk to the people there, play the music there, and then sometimes they ask me like, how do you manage to say no? Because that's one of the hardest things to do with alcohol and other substances, is to say no. Was that ever a struggle for you? Was that just really nice and easy? No thanks.
Yeah, I think at the very beginning we would just to be polite, because in York County and Lancaster County, if somebody offers you food or something to drink, you just take it or you get offended. So there's like a culture thing there where we would just sort of, oh, okay, thank you, and then probably not drink it. but after a while, it's like, why are we doing this?
Right.
So yeah, it's you learn along the way to not that you don't worry about what people think, but you stop worrying about what people think so much and imbuing your cultural whatever on their motivations.
Right. It's a Christ over culture
Mm-hmm.
kind of aspect where, yeah, I understand that this is like culturally appropriate to say yes, but you're probably never going to see that person again, to be quite honest. And if they say no, that's it's just no. It's not like the end of the world either.
And a lot of times, I don't really want a beer, but I'll take a Coke.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's
You
like
know.
offer something different. Granted,
Yeah.
I'm never going to say no to food.
Yeah.
when you said say no to food, I was like, I would never do that. But in regards to drink, yeah, it's either Sprite or it's water.
Yeah.
No in between. I don't like any of the other Pepsi products. People drag me out for that. I was like, but so you guys didn't really find a footing in the secular spaces.
Right.
So what are some of the spaces that you found your footing in outside of churches?
Well, I don't know that we really even found our footing until about 2011. Would you say?
Probably.
Yeah, and we were
Was a
just
while.
floundering around, just doing whatever, and a cool, quick God story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to tell it quickly and succinctly. Help me if I don't, because I do that. Uh, really quickly, a friend of mine called and said, "Hey, this lady just moved into the area. Here's her phone number. Here's her name. Would you guys call her and just get her connected with the local music scene here? She's not from around here." Great. So I call this number and I ask for Alicia. Well, there's no Alicia here, and it's not anybody's house. It's a retirement community. You've reached the front desk. And oh, okay. Well, I explained the whole situation, my friend, and say, well, we don't have an Alicia, but we have an Allison. Maybe that's who you mean. I was, great. I'll talk to Allison. So, maybe she just got the name wrong. So I talked to Allison. Of course, Allison knows nothing about any of this that I'm going through this whole story. But she says, you guys are musicians. Have you ever considered playing for our seniors here? And no, that never even occurred to us. And here's what I said. And what do we have in common with old people? They're not going to like our music. They're going to hate us. And it turns out not so much. She convinced us to just try it and paid us. That was a great thing. And we came and played a few songs that we thought would be cool for these folks, and they loved it. And that was, I think, the first time that we said, okay, maybe this is the crowd for us, at least a crowd for us, because they're attentive, they're respectful, they appreciate it so much, and they come up afterward and they'll hug you and tell you how wonderful it was. And we really found a lot of satisfaction in that. It's like, okay, Lord, maybe this is the direction you want us to go in for now. That was back in 2011. And we started to slowly call those places.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially because the older people, first off, they don't get that many visitors, and it's very routine life for them. I remember when I was a kid that we would always go perform Christmas carols at the nursery home, and it was the happiest day of their lives for them because first off, they get to see really young people that they don't usually get to see young people at a nursery home. They get to meet new people, get to hear decent singing. Christmas caroling is only as good as you can get. It was just a time where they could have fun and leave the monotony of older life, especially at a nursing home.
100%.
So that was one of the venues you found success at.
Yes.
Coffee houses. Did you ever perform at local coffee houses at all?
A few of those, and this is where this might sound bad, but they generally have a very small budget. There are a few exceptions to that, and when 2013 came and we went full time into music, that suddenly became a big consideration. So there are a few of those that we've played at, but not nearly so much as other.
Yeah, giving us free coffee doesn't pay the electric bill.
Right. Yeah. So
hey, it's a plus. At least it's some sort of plus.
But there have been some very good ones, and what's nice about a situation like that is you can go in there. You're probably the feature artist, so they're there to. I mean, the folks are there because that's the family at the coffee house, that community there. But there's a sense of, wow, you're like a rock star a little bit, and that's a really fun feeling when you get to go, and especially us as songwriters, we would at a place like that be very free to play predominantly our own music, which is a big deal to us. That's our heart, is to play our music for folks and have them be blessed. And you can be really upfront about, this is how you get right with the Lord through Jesus Christ. This is who we are. You can be really upfront and blunt with that stuff in a venue like that. You don't even have to worry, like, am I going to offend someone in a bar, or, because you always have to know what your room is that you're in. So yeah, those are very rewarding. There's just not a lot of them.
It helps too that most, especially around here, most coffee houses are owned by and run by Christians.
Yes.
I'm sure that helps a lot.
That helps a whole bunch. Yes, it does.
So did you guys ever plan a gig with a through message, like almost like a sermon, but like music style in mind? Because for example, one of my old churches used to incorporate the songs with the sermon that was going on.
Oh yeah.
So for a lot of Christian concerts, they'll do the same thing where they have like a main theme, and then all their songs will be related to that main theme. Did you guys ever plan one of those out for any of those smaller, more Christian settings?
Many. In fact, that's our preferred way to work, is to create, say, if you have an hour of block of time, then half of that will be just songs that are around amplifying your theme, but then the other half hour is music. And what we love to do is, make a sermon point, play a song that exemplifies that, make another sermon point, play another song, and really make it, actually weave it all together. We really enjoy that. It's a very different way of presenting what you're trying to do, rather than a standard Sunday morning is typically in most churches is a time of worship at the beginning. You take care of church business, and then you have the message and the dismissal.
And it's completely unrelated sometimes.
Yeah. So to actually weave it all together and make it almost a little theatrical is actually very satisfying too.
Well, we did that every third Sunday.
At a retirement community in
hired
Camp
us every
Hill,
third Sunday morning.
we would do the actual service for them, and that's exactly what we did.
That's
for
a lot
years.
of fun. It's one. I have really bad ADHD. And one thing that always annoyed me about church was that it was so suit and tie, sit still, and when I was a kid, I went to like a Pentecostal church, so everybody was up and around, running around, and there was piano playing while the preacher was teaching, and it was a lot of fun. But as I grew older, I went to like a Methodist church, and the Methodist church is almost Catholic in the way they run things, where it's a very set. Not to say that the theology is Catholic, but the sermon is very much regimented in their. They're called Methodist for a reason. The best part about Methodism is that they usually eat afterwards. So
Hey.
So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, there was a lot of sitting still, or having grandma bop you upside the head if you don't, and it's something that frustrates me. It's not that I don't like going to church, but I wish there was more of that aspect. Is that I feel like that just increases the engagement for everybody else as well, because church should be an interactive experience for sure. Whether it be lecture can be interactive. Sermons, there's a time and a place for telling people, hey, this is a problem, we need to fix it. But there's also a time and place, like, hey, look at this wonderful story of how God transformed this person, whether it be Jonah, whether it be Elijah, whether it be one of the disciples, the Zacharias, the tax payer. Look how God worked in these people's lives, and we're gonna portray that through this song or this hymn, or like Sight and Sound is I feel like one of the best sermons you could ever sit through.
I believe that.
I really wish churches embrace that more often. So have you guys ever thought about what do you guys think about Sight and Sound? There's controversial opinions a little bit.
Oh, I did not know that.
Well, there's some people who think that the only worship songs you can sing are from the Psalms, and that's it. You can't create your own stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there's 1,000,005 denominations, and that happens to be one of them, where
Okay.
the only worship music you guys are allowed to sing, or they are willing to sing, is the Psalms.
I literally never knew that till right now. So I
Really?
learned something today. Yeah, I've things like that. I just try not to get too
Too caught up in.
caught up in, pay too much attention to, because I came up. In fact, this is a great time to talk about this. We came up during the '80s, the '70s and '80s.
Worship wars, right?
And and I hadn't ever heard them called that, but yes, there was a worship war going on, and I went to a church like you described, very straight laced, very orderly, hair doesn't touch the collar. Well, mine did, and I was out to I got a little bit of an attitude, can't believe that hardly, but I got an attitude that said I can be a good Christian and I can have long hair, and turns out that. Yeah, I at least had the long hair. But yeah, there was a time when, listening to the music that we were listening to was not accepted in our churches. So I just sort of made up my mind back then, this is what God's calling me to do, and he's saying this is okay for me to do, and that's what I'm going to do. And if somebody else has a different way of doing it, well, then God bless you, but don't force it on me. So that's ever since that. It's like, okay, you're telling me something I just would never have really paid attention to, because so many people, I have friends that in their church, they don't have any instrumentation. It's only vocals. And I didn't know that either until last year, talking to this man.
Some people don't do any worship at all.
Some don't, exactly. So wherever God leads your conscience, I think Scripture's pretty clear on that, with things that aren't obvious that he's made a commandment about, do what God's telling you to do.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a question of if you're saved or not.
Right.
That is something that we love to discuss, students here at LPC.
Okay.
Like tertiary and secondary doctrinal issues. Like whether or not it's okay to work on the Sabbath, like stuff like that. That doesn't really affect your salvation at all, but it's just a fun little exercise to talk about, like, or predestination or not.
Right.
Stuff that in the ultimate end of things doesn't really matter, as long as you believe in Christ, repent, and be baptized, and that's pretty much it. You're saved. Some people add more to that and subtract from that, but if you believe in Jesus Christ.
Well, if you, just to clarify there, if you are trusting his death on the cross,
yes,
100%, and nothing that you do,
right,
and you say, yes, I want that free gift, and you sincerely mean that, and you're tired of your sin, and you're willing to get to do your best to follow what the Lord tells you to do after that moment, that's it. That's all it takes. And all of the other stuff, secondary, tertiary, whatever issues, that's what they are. That is the only thing, because if you get all your doctrine right, but you miss the free gift of salvation, then you've missed everything for eternity, and that would break my heart. So, yeah. We try not to get into those controversial things too much.
It doesn't matter.
Because it really doesn't matter.
That's good. So, what are some of the considerations you had to take when you performed at a secular venue? Granted, there are plenty of secular songs that are not Christ-like whatsoever. What were some of those things you had to think about while you were performing? Like, what's your boundaries for songs?
Oh. Well, I'll tell him. She doesn't like to talk a lot. But
Yeah.
But yeah, basically our rule is it can be any secular song, and any song that, by that I mean any song that doesn't explicitly mention God, as long as it doesn't, as far as we can tell, violate Scripture or promote anything that's sinful.
So you guys could perform "Eye of the Tiger" and be completely fine with that.
But we could not play the Sinatra song "My Way."
Yes.
Because we have been requested to do that, and we will not, because there are things in there that whole song is about
doing it my way,
and my way gets me to hell.
Yes, correct. It's very interesting.
So that's pretty much the funnel that every song has to fit through.
So if anyone ever suggested something to you, you couldn't, or I would say, I'm assuming that you wouldn't perform it immediately. You would have to research it a little bit.
Well, if we didn't know the song at all,
true. We
would definitely have to. Yeah, I mean, we would definitely have to research it and pray about it in some cases, because sometimes it's a thin line.
Mm-hmm.
There's even today with some of the worship music that comes out today, like one thing that comes to mind is "Reckless Love" by Corey Asbury.
Mm-hmm.
There's this whole controversial. It's like, well, is God's love reckless? Does that make sense for God to be reckless? In that kind of aspect, that's one of some of the some even New Wine. Have you ever heard that song from Hillsong?
Maybe if I not by the title.
It says that you're making new wine out of me, and it draws off of like the story of the wine sacks that
Mm-hmm.
Christ but it's a little controversial because is that only applicable to that situation, or is that applicable to us, or are they taking that out of context? Because that can be dangerous too.
Absolutely, it can be.
Do you guys ever have to say no to worship songs because they, in your mind, defy Scripture?
I don't know that we've come up against that so much.
I-
Am I missing
We
any?
no, we usually, if we're doing worship, we pick our own
Typically,
songs,
Mm.
and like when we write new songs, we have like a committee of people that come and hear it before we record them to see if we've said anything that would like be unscriptural or not right.
Let's talk about that. That sounds interesting. One of the songs I had written was called "I Will Bend My Knee." It's the idea of bending the knee to God, and instead of God, I used the term Yahweh,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't sure if Yahweh referenced the Father, the Son, or the Spirit, or if it was just all of them together. So that was something I had to go to my Bible professors and be like, listen, I don't know what because it's not very clear. It's just it's just being used as Yahweh, but sometimes it's used plural, sometimes it's used singular, and you never. Hebrew is such an old language. You don't know anything anymore at this point. It's just all speculation. So that was one thing I had to talk to like legitimate scholars about. What is it like for the song process for you guys?
Well, sort of along the same line, we'll create the music. We start out with, like we talked about, we hammer it out, we get it where we think it needs to be, and then we'll play it several times so that it's just smooth and we don't have to think about it so much. Then we'll involve other folks, two of which are pastors. So
it's good.
That's a nice thing. And then that's exactly what we do is we play the song and we feed them too. So
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
helps.
we
Yeah.
feed them for their time. So they'll come and some other folks will come, and that's what they do. And their job is to listen to that batch of songs and take notes. Is there anything that you thought was really good, really not good? Even to, is it arranged properly? Is the ride right? So all of that is involved because all of that, whether the song is up tempo, down, if it's big here and then small here, that's all a message. That's all part of.
It's part of the story.
It's part of that story, absolutely. So, you can mess it up just by playing the wrong size of the song or having it arranged incorrectly. So yeah, our process is similar to that. We have, what's to say, wisdom. There's wisdom in many counselors in Scripture. So if you can involve some people like you have here, you at the college, you have a wealth of folks that you can take and do exactly what you did, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because there was different opinions from everywhere, but the consensus was that yes, it does mean Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It means like the Trinity in general.
Right.
That was the consensus that I got. That is super interesting. Because you had mentioned even the tempo, because you can make a lick that if it's fast, it sounds like it's funk, but if it's slowed down, it turns into country rock.
Right.
And it completely two different feelings and genres, and to completely change the message of the song. What's it like do you guys do lyrics first or chord progressions first, then add lyrics to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the most succinct answer I've ever heard right there. Yes.
That's the answer I often do get. What's the preferred way? Is there one?
No. Just however it comes. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. and Lord, I'm grateful for this music that you just gave me, but you could have given it to me in 3 hours. But he doesn't. He gives it to you then. So you get up, you go over to the studio, and you get the germ of it down, and then hopefully go back to sleep. Sometimes not.
See, you guys have more willpower than I do, because at this point, if an idea comes to me, I'm like, I'll get to it in the morning.
And then it's not there.
And it's not there anymore. Yep. And that's the sad life of the musician.
Yes.
I've gotten used to, although I don't like to, I have my phone next to me when I go to bed. So oftentimes whenever if I wake up and just this idea is just seared in my brain, I'm just like, all right, fine, and I'll just record it quickly into my phone and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
Although I don't like to do that, because typically when I have to wake up, if I'm not up and standing, I'm staying in bed. There's no chance.
Yeah. Well, that is nice though. I've done that too. You can sing it, whatever, and say this is the piano part. It's do this over the 4 chord and then a 3 minor, whatever you need to do. You can give yourself the instructions, as long as we give ourselves that when the morning comes, then you've got okay, and you can get back into where you were with it generally.
So what are some of the more helpful tips? Like, because sometimes you're driving, sometimes you're taking a shower when that happens. Sometimes there's a multitude of scenarios in which these happen.
You
What?
always have this.
Always, when I was your age, I drove box trucks for a living,
Mm.
and that was a long time ago. And there's probably a box of lyrics somewhere in the basement that are all written all like this, because I was literally going down the road driving my 30-foot box truck while I was trying to write these things.
That's probably not smart.
I'm sure it was not, but it's so long ago. Hopefully, I don't think they can fire me anymore since I don't work for them.
Right.
But you could definitely have a pen and a paper. I know it's old school for the younger folks, but
It works best.
pen and a paper is the best. You can't have a battery burn out. It doesn't die.
We were just talking about it.
We were just talking about that.
That my phone, the charger port got all messed up, so it won't take in a charger anymore, and there goes all of my notes and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not good.
That's
not
bueno.
good.
No, not at all.
So don't be afraid to go old school. Definitely, if you do have your phone with you, I think every phone on the planet can record audio and or video. So just you're going to hit the button and start doing what you need to do, and hit the button when you're done, and then you have that it's done. You can rest.
Yeah. So, talking about jobs, you guys do this full time now.
Right.
What was it like switching over from having a part-time job or another full-time job and having this as kind of like a hobby, and then doing it to like a full-time job?
Well, this is one of our favorite God stories.
It was scary.
It was scary, but it was awesome. 2013, we were at a point where we had been working on our business for about 2 years, and we were at the point where we could not book any more shows because I ran a business and she had a corporate job. So there just literally was no more time, let alone energy. There was no time. And we were at a point where I knew we were going to have to do something. And I thought, well, we're going to, we'll down the road, we'll check into that.
Right.
Because I had my, we'll just shove it off a little bit. Well, June the 13th of 2013, about 10 in the morning, my wife calls me and says, they gave me a box and 5 minutes and said, thank you for your 23 years of service.
Wow.
Get your stuff and head on out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end. She said, they just downsized me. And literally the first word out of my mouth, what was it?
Good.
And she said, good. I said, yes, good, because
Mm-hmm.
we were stuck where we were. And now God opened it up so we can take music and move it forward. So it was pretty much just decided that day that we were going to just see what happened, just shoot for it and see what happened.
And was your business that you're running, the Sweet Life Project?
No.
Yeah.
No, you had the cell phone business.
My business.
Yes.
Yeah. I was at different flea markets and had a cellular accessory business. So I may have been able to help you with your phone that died at one time, but not anymore.
Yeah. That's so interesting. It's always weird how God works in literally mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Well, it was super scary because all our insurance and
Right.
benefits and everything was through my job. So we had none of that.
Yeah, that's my next question is where do you get all that? Do you just have to buy it on your own, or
Mm-hmm.
is that, I'm sure that's complex.
Mm-hmm.
It is complex, and that's why you have one of my best friends is a financial counselor, And we were on the phone with him a lot for a long time. So we have a team around us of people that do the things that we're bad at.
So what are like top 3 things you need to have if you want to do music for a full-time job? You mentioned the teams. What does that include? Does that include? I assume that includes like some sort of financial advisor, like you said, or accountant, some sort of agent to find some places to gig at. But like I said,
We don't have that.
We don't have that.
tell me what you got.
I am the agent. I'm the booking agent. I am the promotional manager. I am the president of the corporation. That's one thing I do recommend is look into incorporating. It's really not that hard. It's not very expensive, and it protects you as a person. If something bad happens at a gig, somebody gets hurt or whatever, then we have insurance set up specifically for that, and we're more protected that way, and so are the venue and all the folks around you. So really, just have your financial house in order the best you can is a huge one. Get out of debt. Just do anything like that you can do, because the less debt you have, the safer you are, the easier it will be, the less stressful it will be to try to do that.
Make sure you have a prayer team.
What's it like to build a prayer team?
That's actually pretty simple. You just find 2 to 6 people that you really respect and are really walking close with the Lord and doing their best to be with Him every day.
And who believe in what you're doing.
And who believe in what you're doing, and ask them to pray for you. And ideally, they'll probably be the same people that are on your song review committee.
Do you think, I've never heard of a song review committee.
Okay.
Do you think, like these what you guys are doing is completely foreign to me or new to me. So I'm really interested in hearing more about like what's it like to incorporate yourselves. Like, what does that? You had said that it protects you financially from these things. How do you guys have to get a lawyer? Do you guys have to do all that? Like, that sounds really complicated to me.
It takes time if you don't know what you're doing, but it's really not. We used a company. I don't know if we can mention company names on here, but it has to do with
if it's in a positive light, then.
Oh yeah. It has to do with legal things, and they Zoom. So they're very good at you can either call them up or just do it online, and it's a very simple thing.
And our accountant too.
And our accountant is really, really good, and our financial advisor is really, really good at helping with those things. John Simpkins, he's awesome.
And one thing I learned recently about, like recently as in like a few hours ago, from my other job, was that typically financial advisors don't run off like a per hour.
Right.
They run off commission, kind
Exactly.
of like. So it's like whatever money you make, they take a percentage of. So it's really not that expensive to get a financial advisor at all. You literally don't have to pay them. Besides, they make their own money essentially.
Right.
So that's one thing that kind of blew my mind. I was like, oh well, I'm gonna get a financial advisor ASAP, because being young, now is the time to like start investing and building wealth.
You have no idea.
Oh, I don't, and that's why I want to start now. I'm just learning how to budget. One of my church financial advisor is gonna teach me. She's awesome and helped me with my taxes when I had, 4 W-2s, a 1099, and all these other things that I just can't be bothered to. It's zoom right over my head, and it's not my plate at all. So so if anyone's listening out there and they want to get into finances and investing, get yourself a financial advisor. It's literally you got to find the right person.
Yes.
Granted.
Yes.
One thing I heard was that a lot of them serve the upper class way better than they do the middle class. So you got to find somebody who will serve whatever class you're in the best.
And that's any industry. You're going to have people that specify what their strength is and who they're called to work with. So yeah, you find that person or those people, and really with that sort of a team, you're going to go what's the saying? If you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. Yeah. So you really do want to have those folks, because there are days when it's very discouraging to do this. When you're suddenly, there's this virus somewhere in the world, and suddenly all of our shows went away. Well, what do we do now? And to not have anybody with you to help you up,
or to support you
is very, very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the strangest things to see. Granted, this hasn't been the first time, at least in my life, that everything kind of went haywire. Everything went really haywire during the 2008 to 2011 stages with Occupy Wall Street, the housing market crash. We actually lost our house in that. But that's a whole other God story and a half, where my grandmother just out of the blue one day was like, I want to move closer to my daughter, so she moves from Pittsburgh to Maryland, Delaware area, and right after, it seems almost to me as a kid, it seemed like almost right after that we lost our house, and now but we can be with my grandmother now. So incredible God story, but incredible hardship as well. Granted, as a kid, I didn't really know what was going on. I was just like, oh, we're moving to grandma's house, yay! But you still, I knew what was going on, financial troubles and all that stuff, and it's really crazy how small that seems now when we're dealing with what we dealt with in 2020 and 2001, where literally you can't go anywhere, not because you don't have the money to, but because you aren't allowed to. So what was that? Actually, we'll save the conversation for later. I'm more curious about the incorporated and.
Right.
I didn't get to finish the questions I wanted on that.
Sure.
So what is the process of incorporating? Is it going into the government? Is it finding some business?
Oh my, this is really outside of my strength. That's why I let other people do it. But basically, you create this little corporation and name it whatever you want, and then it becomes its own thing. And then you put all all of the your equipment and as much as you want, your car and whatever, you put that all into this corporation, into this entity, and then if something bad happens, you're protected. If someone
can't come back and take your house.
They can't come back and take your house.
Gotcha. So it's like liability protection.
Very much. Thank you. See, I don't even know how to say it right.
Yeah, you there's a couple ways you can do that, like with an LLC and an incorporation and stuff like that. Our accountant told us what was best for us.
Right.
And then we did it.
Then you just do it. You sign a bunch of paperwork they put in front of you, and there you go.
So, because getting an accountant, I'm assuming that's paid by the hour.
That can be a little pricier.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing.
So with that in mind, did you guys have to set a rate for yourselves, or? Because a lot of musicians, they won't play for anything less than 150, or they will charge $50 an hour for their service, or et cetera,
right?
Stuff like that. Do you guys set your own rate?
Oh yeah,
we definitely have pricing like that, and it's people will come up all the time. What do you charge? It's very hard to just tell you that because, I've got to find out. Is it in another city, 4 hours away? Is it literally around the corner? How long do you want us to play? What type of event is it? Is it a big event where we need to card extra speakers? There's a lot that goes into that. But yeah, you sort of develop a formula after a while.
So do you have like a spreadsheet? It's like, okay, if it's a small event, literally around the corner, it's like $200. Just not to say that's what your price is. But.
Right. Yeah, we have like minimums like that for each scenario. And we, that'll be what what we'll do is we'll sort of set a range and say, this is what we would like to get, but depending on if there's whatever the circumstance is, if there's something where we can change that a little bit, and we'll try to work with you. You have to be flexible too.
Right. It's what I've learned having been to New York City more times than I like to be. That everything is negotiable. Like street vendors, I've heckled down a T-shirt from $20 to $5 because that's what they're worth. It's what you got to do when when you're poor in New York City. You got to have a shirt. It's like, I'm not gonna pay $20 for a shirt. I'm gonna heckle this down to what I can get, because everything's overpriced and a half in New York City. It's always interesting. That's something I'm learning currently, is to set my own rate as a composer, arranger, and stuff like that. It's like, well, I'm an amateur, but I've been told I'm really good. So what does that mean for me? Because with experience, you can build that price up.
Yes.
And in regards to price, if you're lowballing yourself, people aren't going to buy your business because to them it's going to be cheap, not worth the idea. But if you
Right.
overball yourself, people are going to be like, well, that's just over expensive for the experience you're going to get.
Right.
Well, one of the most important questions you ask at the beginning is, what's your budget?
Mm.
What is your budget? And then
What-
we can tell like what they're thinking. They may be thinking, well, can you come for $20 or, our budget's 500. Can you work with that?
Yeah, that's a pretty wide spread.
But yeah, but,
Well-
I mean, we've had both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's good because the musicians I talk to, this is completely out of their mindset that they're not even
Okay.
thinking about this. Even though they do this for full time, this is not some people take it seriously, some people really don't, and that can be problematic sometimes when all of a sudden COVID comes in and shuts down literally everything. In regards to music, and you have to figure out how am I going to pay rent. How am I going to pay off these student loans that I might still have? How am I going to pay for gas now that I'm not getting any money? Because literally the life of a musician is their car
Yeah.
in a lot of aspects. So how am I going to deal with paying off my car? How am I going to pay off of dealing with this? What are some of the budget items that people don't really expect to have? Because one of them for me was movies. Like going out to see movies, like entertainment. What was some of the things for you that really surprised you of how much you were spending money on?
Well, I think I'll answer that in a second, but I think the thing to remember is you said it just a second ago. Some people, this is just a side thing.
Mm-hmm.
Other people, this is your dream. If it's your dream, anything that financially gets in the way, be ruthless. Sorry, movies, if you're serious about your career, movies are probably out. Maybe, I don't know if you're going once a week, maybe once every 2 months. We rarely, even when we're traveling, we're going in 3 weeks or something. We're going up to Potter County, almost in New York State, to do a Christian festival up there, and we're going to pack our own food because it's crazy. We go into the grocery store every Friday and we know what we're getting. We know the pricing, and then you go and look at a fast food menu, and it's seriously, that's how much you're charging, because we know that we could get sometimes 4 or 5 times that amount of food. So one of the ways that we made it was that we cut all that stuff out, and she really took over on the cooking. And she spends a lot, sometimes a large part of your day doing that. Not everybody ever has that time, and I get that.
Or that ability. But you'd be surprised how much ability you can get when when you have to. Yeah.
And you'd be amazed how much time suddenly gets freed up when you're not spending time doing those other things. Maybe you have streaming services. You have Netflix and Hulu and all those. I'm sorry, we got rid of all of that stuff. Yeah, well, we kept our satellite TV, but that's just because that was like the only splurge we had, pretty much. But yeah, we got rid of
way down.
We pared it way down as much as we could. At the grocery store, be super smart there. And I don't think we could have done it if she hadn't been willing to get really good at those things. So whatever you need to do, that's the main question is this a hobby or is this like a real deal? If this is a real deal for me, then I'm going to be merciless with anything that gets in the way. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is.
So fast food was definitely one of those things for you guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Eating out.
Yeah. We just don't do that.
We didn't that much anyway,
but it was more often before. We probably a tenth of what we used to do. Maybe once every 8 weeks.
We're on the roads all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We were on the road, so it was just easy to.
Yeah, you find a Wendy's. Oh, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. Get a $5 biggie bag or whatever.
Exactly. But then I think part of it for us too was this sort of off the subject a little bit, but it made it easier for us because a lot of those fast food corporations and other big corporations have taken turns in the last 5-6 years politically, socially, and have embraced things and are taking the money that we're giving them and using it for ungodly causes. And that makes it really easy to just say, you know
Nope.
what, bye-bye.
Yeah, not to mention that it's not healthy at all for you at all.
No, it's not.
It's literally only out of convenience, and yeah, that's something I wish, or I had thought of. I had done a road trip in November, and that is one thing that we definitely should have done. We spent so much more money than we could have ever. 'Cause granted, we did want to go out to like the local restaurant scene, and because going. How are you gonna visit Nashville or Chicago without visiting some of their famous restaurants?
100%.
You know what I mean? But a lot of our money was spent going to McDonald's, and when we could have just literally have made a PB&J for cents on the dollar,
Yes.
effectively. This is one of the things I'm learning very much now as a graduated college student. It's like, oh, I actually need food, and food's expensive, so so I'm gonna go to like BB's. Has been have you guys ever heard of that BB's outlet?
No, where's that one?
There's one in Quarryville, I believe.
Okay.
Granted, it's a little bit of a trek, but I got
Aldi's?
4 boxes of macaroni and cheese for 25 cents each.
There you go.
So it's granted you have to look at the it's like one of the if stuff gets beat up or improperly packaged, that's where it goes. So the date, you have to look at the dates. However, I was willing to eat 4 boxes of macaroni and cheese within like a month. So
For a buck.
For a buck,
That's all
nonetheless. And you get cake mix for a buck, and I got some of these are really good products that you would be like, at Walmart this costs $5, but I can get 4 of these for $2 here. And it's shopping smart has been definitely one of the things I've had to learn as not only a musician but just as a person in general.
Right.
With food prices going bonkers and inflation causing all sorts of problems. Definitely learning how to shop smart, and YouTube has been a gigantic help.
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Figure out how to, first off, how to cook. Second off, how to budget.
Yes.
That's something I'm learning, and it's a lot. There's stuff that you never really think about. Thank God for I have my business with PNC, and their app tracks all of my purchases, and it separates it into different. Like I spent this much on gas, this percentage on gas, this percentage on entertainment, this percentage on like housing and such. And oh my gosh, the amount of stuff, I didn't realize I was going to see movies every like weekend or whatever.
Yeah, it really,
And
when
it
you can
adds
see
up.
it does add up.
And you feel it.
And how old are you?
I'm only 22.
So you're 22. If you saved $5 a week,
Right, exactly.
$5 a week in like 30 years, I don't do the math very well, but you would have hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, at that point, yeah. I was every time I look at it, I was like, literally, I would be $1,000 richer if I just didn't see those movies, or if I didn't, go to that concert, which I could have just seen YouTube videos about. Granted, there are some concerts that I would have gone to regardless.
Well, see, that's
Like
the
a
other
Sweet
side
Life
of
one,
it.
right?
Like a Sweet
Like
Life.
a Sweet Life one for sure.
But that's the other side of it is too. If you can prioritize and say, okay, you need one splurge.
Yes.
You need to do, because if you set up a situation where it's like on a diet where I'm never going to eat chocolate cake again. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
So
Be realistic with yourself at least.
right. So find out what you value, and then you can plan that and build that in, because that's your thing to look forward to. That's your reward for doing all the hard cutting and slashing that you have to do. And this isn't just financially either. This is, what am I doing with my time? Am I spending,
Who am I hanging out with?
Who am I hanging out with? Are these people, do they fit through the funnel? Are they going to help me with what I'm doing here or not? I'm sorry if they're not. They got to go.
Yeah, that's been a thing I've learned recently, because you make so many. You have your 3 stages of life friends, or your high school friends and your college friends, and then your adult work friends, like in that kind of circle. At least that's what I've read. And the amount of high school friends I've just had to listen, I don't have time to hang out with you, or to because oftentimes the drama of high school follows into at least that's what I've seen. It follows into adulthood. It's like, listen, I'm older than that. And besides, you're 3 hours away at this point. I only hang out with one of my main high school friends, and she's just been the best person ever. So I definitely make time for her. But for college friends, you gotta listen. I'll hang out with you like maybe a month, once a month, or maybe once 2 months. But we can't be going out every single Friday night because I have to do stuff. I gotta pay bills. I gotta play music. Friday night's a horrible night because that's my gigs are mostly nights. It's incredible the amount of almost like politicking you have to do to socially, that is, to make time for your business, to make time for your life, because if you don't do it now, it's you're gonna miss out. And that was one of the things I had to learn starting this podcast. Like, if I don't start it now, I'm missing out on all this opportunity, future opportunity.
Right.
So if I don't start building now, I'm gonna have less to start with. We're kind of ending our time on the radio. So I'd love to get some of your songs in.
Oh, great.
To play for the radio. The first one I have up is the first song that kind of greeted me when I went to your page. That's sweetlifemusic.com, which was One Sunday Morning.
Right.
Do you want to talk to me through that? What was the process behind that?
Sure. It's a song basically about having a church family and what it's like to go on Sunday morning to a church service. The really cool thing is, for you listeners, you don't know this, but the way we met Corey was we reached out, or he reached out, I forget.
No, you guys reached out to me.
Well, we reached out to you because we're industrious like that. And he actually came to our Easter Sunday service that we were playing the music at, and its song works on any Sunday morning, but especially
Easter. Yeah,
Easter. It worked really well for the sunrise service to sing this song, and that's pretty much what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that said, this is One Sunday Morning from Sweet Life Music.
The singer sang, the preacher preached, and God came down to meet with each who with lifted hearts would bid him come and stay. The people sat and passed the plate, but found their debts already paid. They all went out to fill the world with praise. One Sunday morning, one Sunday morning, one Sunday morning, the stone was rolled away. One Sunday morning, one Sunday morning, one Sunday morning, the stone was rolled away. Well, the table set with wine and bread, confess our sins and bow our heads. We lift our hearts and bid him come and stay. Sinners kneel and stand redeemed. Believers shed their disbelief. They all go out to fill the world with praise. One Sunday morning, one Sunday morning, one Sunday morning, he rolled the stone away. One Sunday morning, one Sunday morning, one Sunday morning, he rolled the stone away. Rise up in belief, and we'll all go out and fill the world with praise.
This is definitely one of my favorite songs that I've heard from you guys. It just makes me happy. I've heard a lot of original music. Doing this podcast and just being with friends that write their own worship songs, and some people focus, I think, too much on the spectacle versus the song itself. And that's a whole conversation within the church industry today. Was, are you having a concert or are you having a worship service?
Yes.
and that's one of the bigger problems that we see within Christianity today. It's all about, do we have the laser lights? Do we have the fog machines? Or versus, do we just have foundational preaching? Which is one of the core aspects of the church. It doesn't matter. God is going to work with or without the stage lights, and without the without the electric guitar, without whatever. And I really appreciate how broken down because it's just your voices and a guitar, not even a drum set.
Right.
It's just as simple as it's a campfire song.
Oh.
Setting. You know what I mean? If someone brings a guitar
Sure.
and they start singing like campfire songs, almost. That's growing up in Boy Scouts, at least that's what it reminds me of.
Well, it was just easier. We had a band before, and it was like murder just trying to get everybody on board to book a gig. This way, somebody calls, we check our calendar, and we can say yes or no right away.
Yeah, we're married, so
yeah,
it's
that's
easy.
what I say. That's probably the best things about being married is like, well, I don't have to double check. I know her schedule just as well as I know mine.
That's it.
Yeah, that's gotta be a wonderful thing. That's something I'm having trouble with a lot now, is coordinating
Right.
people to get together. And granted, that was one of the things one of the main questions I get. Well, do you have a regular time? The schedule's like, nobody has a regular time whatsoever. You know what I mean? For the theater people, it's you can't do anything Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or sometimes whole weeks when they have tech week.
Right.
For gigs, it's like mornings. So I was like, okay, I can have my mornings free on the weekdays and then afternoon and evenings on the weekends. But even that's like, that's hard for a lot of people because people are doing this literally 24/7 and making it their life.
Right.
And there is not a lot of time in the world.
That's true.
So it's been a lot of fun trying to figure that out and become organized. I'm not a very organized person, despite what people might believe. It was just the only time I ever used a calendar app on my phone was when I started this, because like, okay,
geez.
I have to actually remember something now.
Yeah.
Or because otherwise I was pretty good. Like with some people I've met, they have to put in their class schedules, and I was like, do you just not remember your normal class schedules?
No. That's no, for most of us creative types, she's way better at that than I am at being organized, but I've learned so much from you over the years. My goal is to be more like her, and I'll be all right. But yeah, organization is also key. That's, you were asking like things that are important for musicians. Be early.
Yes. That was one thing that was instilled in me in Scouts, was that you're not on time unless you're early.
You must be early.
Yeah.
And you must always say thank you. And say it too much, because most people are not grateful. In my experience in the music industry, people are not grateful, or at least they're not very good at showing that gratitude. And we have gotten so far by being grateful and making that very plain to people, and doing our best to respect people and respect their time, and respect what they do, and make sure they know that, because if you just do that simple thing, you're going to be 95%. Everybody else is going to be below you. You're going to be in the top 5 crust just like that.
Oh, absolutely. And some of the venues I've been talking to was like for AMT Theater, which is coming on in a few weeks, the director of operations there, they were like, yeah, the musicians that come here, they're also like a Christian-owned facility, if you didn't know that.
Oh.
They put on some really good acts. Actually, they had Chicago the past week or so.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so one of the things that they were talking about was like, yeah, all the musicians love us because we're actually really nice to them.
Yes.
And that's something that they started out, they didn't say, well, we're going to be nice to be different. They thought that nice was the standard. But it's not in the music industry at all. It is very much cutthroat. It is very much it's almost like a retail workers where I can't be bothered to to interact with you in a polite manner because I hate work or whatever,
Right.
or this is just my job. I'm not doing this I'm not passionate really about this,
Right.
in some cases, so I'm just gonna do the bare minimum, if that, and then move on. That's kind of what it's like at least that's what I've experienced in the music in the secular music industry, in regards to that. So it's if you want to separate yourself and become a well-liked, established musician or venue owner, take care of your guests.
Yes.
Well, and we've learned that whether there's two people sitting there, which we've had through the COVID fiasco there, where they're only let like 3 people in this huge auditorium when we play live, or whether there's 3,000, you give your best.
Mm-hmm.
You do your best, because sometimes it's discouraging when you see 2 people sitting there and you feel like just
So what's the
getting
point?
it over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just getting over it, but you can't do that.
One of my favorite quotes from I think it's either John or Charles Wesley. It's one of the Wesley bros. In their hymnal, it says, "Sing with all your might, or don't sing at all."
There you go.
And that's something I take very passionately, especially when it comes to worship. Because if you're gonna sing to the Lord, you got to give your whole heart, or else it's less in some aspects. And that goes to performing as well. If you're gonna perform.
Yes.
No matter what your audience size, no matter if they're chitter chattering around themselves, because you never know who's looking at you. And as Christians, we're always representing Christ and God.
Yes. Thank you.
And that is key. No matter what, even if you're discouraged, you have to give it all. That's what it means to be a Christian. You got to sacrifice your own feelings for the glory of God. And if that means there's only one person here that's looking at me, and no one else is paying attention, maybe I should just go. But that one person is going to be touched by you. Yeah. And regardless if they're chitter-chattering or around you, they're going to, if you're passionate about it and they can see that, they're going to stop their conversations and look at you regardless.
Yes.
And you don't know who's recording you or who's doing all that jazz. So, and that's free marketing. If someone's recording you and they post it, they're like, "Oh, that guy was really good. Wow, look at them. Who's that?" It's one of the things. I have this tendency not to smile when I perform. I'm always like kind of serious face, looking down at my piano to make sure I'm playing the right things, and I'm looking over there, looking very intently at the guitar fret to see, because sometimes they don't give you chord charts beforehand.
Okay.
So I'm looking very intently at the guitar's hands because I know the chord shapes.
Right.
Trying to figure it out. So a lot of the pictures that are posted of me are me looking down or looking very, very intensely at the guitarist, which doesn't really look good on my end because it's like I'm like glaring at him.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out the chords.
Why is he so angry?
Why is he so angry at him? But it's true. So I've definitely made it. I mean, they tell you this in chorus all the time. They'll always make sure you're smiling. But it never really hit me until I see the pictures posted on me, and like, I look like I'm mad at this dude. I don't look like I'm having a good time at all. But in reality, I'm having a really good time. I'm just not showing it. It's those small people will call that performative and fake, but if it's for the glory of God,
I think there's a place to be genuine too.
For sure, yes.
I don't smile all the time, and sometimes I look at, we play so many songs, we don't have the lyrics all memorized. Sorry, that's a little confession, but. So we have our little iPad,
literally,
but you're looking at that rather than looking at the folks, and there's always that struggle to engage while you're keeping the car moving. So you've got to find that for yourself. I just think genuineness has to be there. I think that's, and the fact that you're open and honest about that, you could even turn that around and make a joke out of that. Yeah, I'm just going to look like I'm mad today, and ha ha ha, and oh, he's not really like that, and
right.
And it can be a thing, but I think the genuineness is really key, because yes, it is a quote show.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it is, because it's a conversation with the people that aren't on the stage with you. You're connecting with them, and you're having this back and forth with them, and then pointing them toward the Lord in a worship setting, especially. You're trying to make it a vertical thing too.
Oh yes.
But just be genuine. Just be real, and so much gets covered when you do that, because we've all met those folks that they're all about the show, but it's
fair,
all
yeah.
fluff. And
That is
we
fair.
know that when we see that. I mean, everybody does. People instinctively know when something's real or when it's not.
That's fair.
So just be real.
Well, hey, I want to get one more song out of you
Nice.
guys before we head all over to Facebook Live. Well, we will play some more music and talk extensively about other things that we had to talk about. So the next song is going to be the one. Speak to Me, Master. Is that
Speak to me. Yeah, that's just speak to me.
okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm pulling the curtain back a little bit.
Yeah.
So what is this song about?
We like to write what we call surrender songs. Those are songs that, Lord, I'm in a place here. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. I've tried to do my thing and it isn't working. And I think everybody can relate to that. I'm just going to sit down with my Bible, and I'm going to do just like Samuel did back, I think it's 1 Kings chapter 3. If you call my name, I'm going to say, here I am. Tell me whatever you want me to know. And then I'll do whatever that is, and we'll go from there. And when you do that, in our experience, God will always, always, always say yes. And he will always do that. If you sincerely ask him to talk to you, he will, and you'll know what to do. And that's what the song's about.
All right. Well, with that said, this is "Speak to Me" by The Sweet Life.
Everyone calls it quiet time, but right now I need more than silence. Lord, what I want you to do is give me a word straight from you. I am thirsty, I am hungry, I am searching for you. The whole world's waiting on a new revival. Lord, I want to give a love unrivaled. Now I'm thumbing through the Holy Bible. Speak to me, speak to me. Now I'm praying with a new conviction. No more playing with good intentions. Lord, I'm giving you my affection. Speak to me, yeah. Speak to me, yeah. Take me where you want to go. I'm reading each page with devotion. Show me what I need to see. Here in your word, Holy Spirit, I am listening, anticipating, and I am waiting for you. The whole world's waiting on a new revival. Lord, I want to give a love unrivaled. Now I'm thumbing through the Holy Bible. Speak to me, speak to me. Now I'm praying with a new conviction. No more playing with good intentions. Lord, I'm giving you my affection. Speak to me, yeah. Speak to me, yeah. I am seeking, I am finding, I am looking for you. I am kneeling, I am praying, and I'm not leaving speak to me. Yeah, speak to me. Yeah, speak to me. Speak to me. Yeah, speak to me. Speak to me. Speak to me. Yeah, speak to me. Speak to me. Speak to me. Yeah, speak to me. Speak to me. Speak to me. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was "Speak to Me" from The Sweet Life. They have a few events coming up. Would you like to talk to them about that, or?
Sure, absolutely. Let's see. We have
Most of them are
we
closed
we are
events.
we are old school. We don't do electronic. This is paper calendar right here, folks. We are going to be on the 29th of right? Yeah, the 29th of this month. We're going to be Wednesday night service at Lifegate Church in Elizabethtown, and we're also
You mean
on
the 29th of June?
Of June. Yeah,
I
it
was-
is
I was about
still.
to say.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, June 29.
I was like, ah.
And then also, that's at 7 o'clock on the 29th of June.
6:30.
And where
And
was that
then, or
again?
6:30,
6:30 at where?
Lifegate Church in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania.
That's the same church I went to.
Oh, cool.
Well, for the sunrise, Easter sunrise.
No, that was Park
Park
Street.
Street.
Oh,
That was a different one,
Never mind.
but related, affiliated. And then also on the 18th of June, where if you're traveling up north at all, we're going to be in Potter County at the Laurelwood Christian Festival in Potter County, Pennsylvania. About 4.5 hours from here. We're playing 1 to 3 that day, and
The rest of them are all
everything
sort of-
else we have this month is private. So unless you're affiliated with the venue, sorry guys. But if you
Get
go
it.
to sweetlifemusic.com, sweetlifemusic.com, and you can go to our schedule page and everything is there.
All right. Well, with that said, where can they find your music outside of Sweet Life Music? Do you have any?
We do. We're on YouTube. We're on. I'm actually taking a course right now that will teach me how to use all the newfangled contraptions, and get me on Spot. I think we're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're on all those places where you stream things. Just look for Sweet Life Music, and you should find us there also.
All right. Well, and is there a place where they can reach out to if they want to have you for an event?
Absolutely. You can call me. I'm old school. You can call the phone, 717-475-5200. You can go to sweetlifemusic.com. There's a contact box right there. However you want to do it. You can send us a letter too if you want. I guess that's a little old school, but
I'm sure you can find that address
on the website.
On the website, yeah. Maybe not give that one out live. But hey, we're gonna continue this conversation on Facebook Live. So follow us at facebook.com/the story Corey Rosen. That is CORYROSEN. You can also listen on Spotify at, if you search that same thing, The Story Corey Rosen, it'll pop up. The profile picture is a brick wall with red neon lights. Very, very much old school kind of vibe, and that's where you can find us. Otherwise, we're gonna get you guys back to the radio. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so
Are we off?
we are off
Okay.
for. We're gonna continue on the Facebook live stream, but
Right.
for in terms of radio, we are off. So, one thing I do want to talk about, we kind of talked about a little bit before the show, was good things that venues do, bad things that venues do, because that's kind of where we're headed with the conversation before we went off the radio. What are some good things or mistakes that venues make, or versus good things that venues do that really make you want to go back?
Sure. In our experience, the same stuff that we talked about live on the air, as far as just being respectful, being on time is a huge one. The places that stick out in our minds that we remember are the ones that they really made us feel like we were guests there. They really, not that they treated us like we were rock stars, because we're not, obviously, but there was a definite, we value what you're doing. We're glad you're here, and they want to serve you. They want to, what do you need? Do you need a bottle of water? Do you, whatever you want,
Well, and they were prepared. They had the electric box ready for us. They had the place ready. They had someone waiting there at the door to take us where we were supposed to go. And
It just, yeah, things like that, just really that they took the time to have all that prepared just automatically makes you feel valued.
There's in the some of the secular community, some things that are common that they'll pay your tab or you'll get a free meal.
Right,
Stuff like that. That's very, very much enticing. At least for me, it's the meal part that entices me. If I'm gonna get a free meal, I'm gonna write that place down on paper, make sure I go there again, or reach out to them again. What are some of the mistakes that some people make outside of just like not being most professional?
Not doing those things.
Yeah. Otherwise, not doing those things.
Yeah, not doing those things. I think it's that. I think hiring us when we're not really what they're looking for is a big one. When we were playing those bar scenes, it's more than once was play Freebird. We are never, ever going to play Freebird. It's not who we are. We're just not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So, and that sometimes people get upset because they have a different expectation of us than what we. I mean, obviously, you saw our website, you saw our music, we presented ourselves accurately. So things like that can be a problem. Not paying us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah. We a lot of the work we do is with corporations, and especially they're the worst. And when corporations get sold and bought out, and everything changes hands, and there's a lot of confusion. Well, you did it under the old corporation, so. There's a lot of work like that sometimes that we have to do on the back end. Yeah, things like that. We try not to make it a lot of work for the person to hire us.
Right.
And we appreciate when they do the same back. So that's a big one.
Do you ever have, since that's happened to you, have you guys like come up with contracts that they have to sign or?
100% every time.
Yeah, it reminds me of
time.
She's like, I have one here.
That's all of June's contracts right there, already ready to roll. We walk into the place with it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Well, we had some situations, especially in the last year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
We have we just have certain beliefs about the whole thing that's going on right now with COVID, and the venues sometimes have different expectations on that, and we would make it very clear and plain. This is what we're willing to do. And sometimes they either didn't read the paperwork or
they just signed off.
Just assumed that we didn't really mean it. Well, and we've actually had to walk away from venues like at the door, and we're not going to stray from what we believe. We have medical and religious reasons that this is what we are willing to do, and nothing more. And they wouldn't bend, and we're not going to bend. So we started to make it very clear in the contract, like even highlight sections in yellow, like you have to initial here, because we just don't want that.
I saw that. I saw the highlight.
Yeah, those are bad surprises to have happen. And you don't want any surprises when you're dealing with, as you know, surprises are always bad when you're dealing with venues and things like that. So
yes,
yeah, contracting has become very important, unless it's someone we really know and we know where they stand and everything's good. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, it was even a part of our conversation that we had was making sure that you're okay with these things. And granted, I just wanted to have you on. I didn't really care which way I have you. Yeah, that's it. Kind of your not being paid kind of reminded me of a story of Aretha Franklin. You know who Aretha Franklin is? She granted she grew up in a completely different time than we live in now. But she would always request that she got paid up front, because being black, a lot of people would just have her perform and kick her out the door.
Right.
So she always made it up front in cash before she even performed. That was one of her putting her foot down. One of her contracts. So it's granted, I've never had that happen to me, but. One, because I'm not black, but I've never, in regards to the not being paid at all.
Right.
So that's something interesting that, do you recommend that musicians always have a contract? That they should start having?
It's really, not every venue wants to do that, and I don't think every venue needs to do that, but it is very nice because everybody knows we had this conversation on the phone. this is what we said, and this is what the venue heard, this is what I heard, and those don't always match. So I make it a point of, I will do the contract according to everything we talked about, but then I'll put it in the email that I send to them too, and say, this is everything we talked about, this is what I have here. If any of this is wrong, let me know. And it does. It takes away all those surprises. And we haven't had a lot of trouble. We had to go through several revisions on the contract before people really got all the information. And it's formatted a certain way and highlighted a certain way. And since we've done that, people will stop at the beginning and pay attention and say, oh, no, we can't do that because, or yeah, that's fine. But we have to have that conversation now. We can't just assume anything.
Yeah, that's one of the dangers that some of the musicians that I work with is that they always assume, and it's like you can never assume anything.
No,
there's no assumptions to be made within the music industry because it's so cutthroat, because it's so unexpectable, because it is the way it is. You have to go in. You can go in with some sort of go with the flowy kind of stuff, but you have to have communication is important, and it's necessary.
Yes.
If you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what if the people at the restaurant don't know where you're going, or the venue don't know where you're going, that's gonna be a problem. So you have to make those things clear, and like what said, for things that you are willing to do and not willing to do,
right.
They have to be upfront. And especially with being a Christian, you have to stick to your principles.
It's more than just going into a show and saying, well, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. We're doing this for God. We're doing this for the King of the universe. You can't play with that.
Right.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to play these songs. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to totally do all this right here. This is what I'm going to do. And if you're firm like that, generally people will, even if they don't like you for it, they'll respect you for it. And at least they won't expect in the future that you're going to get outside of the box, because they know better. Because they know, even if it costs that guy money, it costs that group money, and they still stuck by what they said they were going to do or not do. There's a lot of respect, and I believe that's a huge witness. That's a huge witness for the Lord too.
It's common today where people will sacrifice their principles for social acceptance.
It's easy to do.
It's so easy to do. And we all do it in small ways, yeah.
Yes, we do.
So you had talked about previously, like pre-show, what it was like to get into the business side of music. Has that been a challenge for you? What are you doing to? And he's laughing because I already know the answer to this, but what's it like learning that aspect of producing your own music, releasing it to an audience that's not just CD?
Right. Well, we've been very blessed. We've worked over the years with some awesome producers. Bobby Gentillo, Right Coast Studios over in Columbia, Pennsylvania. And we've worked with Stephen Courtney over in Manheim, Pennsylvania. He's pretty famous. He had the kids show here for a long time in central Pennsylvania, and very, very talented.
Write these names down later.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But they were, both of those guys especially, were very good about, hey, help me understand what you're doing here and why this. And I have, we have a little bit of that. We know what we want it to sound like, so we're kind of producers ourselves.
Gotcha.
So it was learning how to convey what we're thinking and what we're hearing and what we want, and to have that back and forth with them, saying, well, that's great, but this part here I think is going to conflict. Maybe have you thought of this? And there's all that teamwork that goes along with that. So they sort of trained us then to be working at our home studio to self-produce, because we sort of went under their wings for a lot, and they were real patient with us, especially me.
Patience is something valuable to have in the music industry, because not a lot of people have it.
Right.
And that's definitely one of the things I would say that makes a venue or a musician a step up from the rest, is having patience, because, oh my goodness, are you going to need patience?
Yes.
And doing this podcast alone, it's like, okay, it's been 5 days. I just have to, because I I'm always someone who responds immediately to stuff, typically.
Mm-hmm.
And within the music industry, it's not how it works. I've been talking to some people who are touring, someone an award winner that's an Australian. She's in the Outback right now, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to wait a while for that one.
Right.
I'm gonna have to wait just a little bit. Not only is she in Australia, but she's in the middle of nowhere, Australia. So I'm gonna have to wait a little bit for an email response from them. Patience is not my strong suit at all. So that's something that God has used this opportunity to teach me, is to be patient. And it's worked wonders. So doing the business thing, courses, classes, has that been your moniker?
It has not been up until recently, because one of the things you need to be in the music industry is cheap. So, and I've learned, one of the things I've struggled with is, okay, you're not spending this money, you are investing this money. You're expecting it to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it that way, it really does help to not be quite so cheap, and to be willing to. So yeah, and I just 2 months ago, for the first time, I invested a good chunk of change in a course. It's called Release Music Like a Pro. And Sherilyn Keller, little shout out to her. She's awesome. She's a coach and has done all sorts different sides of the music industry, every side of it, really.
Mm-hmm.
And she's broken this down into the easy to follow, nuts and bolts kind of steps, which is what I need. And so far it has been, we're a month in, and I'm loving it. I'm learning so much. It's about these things. It's, okay, how do you release a song that it actually gets noticed? You know, our thing has typically been, even self-produce it, make it, put all your heart, your time, and your effort and energy into it. And then, okay, we put it out now. You want to buy a CD, or you want to stream it from our website? No? Oh, okay. I guess I'll make another song.
So where's our audience at?
Right. And it's all about all of that stuff, that we were just at the point where we took this whole thing as far as we could take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important, because a lot of people today just expect that someone's going to do it for them. They're not.
No, you gotta take it, and sometimes that happens, yeah. But the best work you can do for your own business is to do it yourself.
And even if somebody does come along like that wants to do stuff for you, they generally only want to do stuff for people that are already doing it for themselves.
Doing it, yeah.
Because they want to get on board something that's already moving, and they want to push it.
It's the best way you can find people to help you is to do it and start. Because then you're going to find people who are going to invest in you and want to be a part of the vision, the mission that you're building. And that is probably one of the best ways of networking, if I'm being quite honest, is by doing your work and having people see what you're doing. Because otherwise, what have you got to show people?
Nothing.
You got nothing.
Yeah.
All you have is hearsay at most points. So if you don't record a song, how are you going to show it to somebody for them to be interested in it? If I can talk about how I want to do this podcast all day and night, but if I don't actually do anything with it, who's going to be on board with it?
No one.
And that's how it was. I'm such a visionary person. I have all these big visions. From one of the things that I really thought would be really cool to do would be to have like a live performance of. I'm a piano player, and a guy I was partnering with originally did drums. So one thing I really had wanted to do would be perform some of their original music with them, to like just see what would happen and have some fun and jam out on original songs. That takes a whole lot of technology and cable work and stuff that just is beyond me. It's like, well, if I could just at least get this started and then just talking to people, then all the opportunities to play and to make music will eventually come. And it's part of building community is just, jamming out with people and having a bunch of fun. And whether that be worshiping the Lord or, hanging out with people at open mics, and it's just that's the goal of this podcast, is to create that community.
Awesome.
of musicians, and I think we're doing a pretty good job.
I think you are too.
Thank you. So big plans for you guys. What's next? Is it to be producing your own music, more music, and to really focus on the music side, or is it in the business side, or is it to reach out, have outreach to these different communities that really need the gospel? What's big pictures? Do you have any?
I think it's yes. I once again, Corey said everything that needed to be said. So no, no, that really is there is that balance, because we do care very much about where people spend eternity. We care very much about that, and we care very much about honoring the Lord that has saved us, because we were like stray animals, and He took us in and has been so kind to us when we didn't deserve it. And we want everybody else to that hears our music to have that also. So there is that side of it for sure. At the same time, we're a lot older than 22, so we're looking for passive income. We're looking for things that, right now, if we make money, it's because we went out and worked for it and did it. We are starting to think, okay, it's time to. You play 350 events, 400 events in a year, you get tired. So we're really looking forward to, as this course progresses that we talked about, learning how to put things online and do streaming and possibly getting our songs in commercials and on TV shows and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
How cool would that be?
Submitting them into WJCL for a regular radio
See,
play.
that exactly, that all that sort of stuff where it would generate income to us. We do the work at the beginning, and then God can use it any way He wants. That's totally His deal, and it's none of my business, really.
It's crazy what God will use past things of yours and just it's like the talents, the parable.
Yes.
Where you place this, are you gonna hide it away, or are you gonna invest it in different areas and then have a big return on it later? That's one of the bigger plans is. And on the podcast side of things is that because I'm reaching out now to all these different people, I'm going to have bigger plans for me is to have festivals,
Nice.
and to one of my biggest dream jobs, things I want to do is to put on a festival, a week-long festival, and have this is I'm a very ambitious person. So I realize what this sounds like. But I want to have a festival that lasts a week, and every single day it's a different genre of either new music or local music. So one day it'll be Christian artists. One day it'll be country. One day it'll be orchestral music with like an orchestra coming in and sight reading for the first time, or a chorus and stuff. Just to create a big music festival where everyone is brought together. It creates a local economy, which is always great for Lancaster, and that's something I've been wanting to. That's one of the goals of the podcast is to build that not repertoire, but cast list almost.
Okay.
Of people to bring in and just have like a big old jam, and people get to meet new people. People get to interact with new people, more opportunities. That's the goal, is to create more opportunities for musicians and venues, because Lancaster is the place, in my opinion, it's one of the most unique places for a music industry that there is. I don't know what your thoughts on that might be.
I don't have a lot of experience outside of central Pennsylvania to be able to say with any authority on that. I know York and Lancaster are very different from each other.
Yeah.
Harrisburg's different from both of them. So I do get what you're saying. There's definitely a community here, and I would say, from what I know, it's stronger than in the other counties. So
Yeah.
I would have to say I agree with you that much.
Yeah, it's having traveled to Chicago and St. Louis and Nashville even, the music scenes are very much different. Granted, in Nashville, the music economy is booming. It's Nashville, Tennessee. But in regards to the cultural, like the community side of supporting music, Lancaster is like nothing. Servant Stage, right? They run off pay what you will, and they've been going for 10, 11 years.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen anywhere else. It just does, off of pay of what you will to be successful and growing that much. That's insane. There is a real heart for, and all past musicians I've talked to were like, yeah, I lived in New Orleans for a few years, and I could only make money by touring around New Orleans. I couldn't make money by staying in the city. I had to go out a few states away to start making money. Only in Lancaster have I been able to, or had they been able to sit down and be like, yeah, I can make a living by playing a venue here on this side of Lancaster. Maybe go 15 minutes, 20 minutes to Columbia, to Wrightsville, and play somewhere over there. Go to, and able to make a living by just staying at one place.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. One thing I wanted to talk about is how has the music scene really changed for you guys over the years, whether it be on a societal, social level, or a technology level, because God knows technology has changed vastly since the 80s at least.
Oh my. Well, that's a big question. I guess it has changed in the sense of our perception. We grew up in York County, where for the most part, if you want to play out in public and you tell people you play out in public, they will ask you what bars you play at. That's because that's the perception. And here in Lancaster County, to a degree, that's also true.
Very much so.
But as it just never occurred to us that there would be places other than that. And I told you our God story when we were on the air live about, our friend hooking us up with the retirement community was totally by accident.
Right, yeah, quote unquote accident.
But what has sprung out of that has been really interesting, because now someone comes up and says, hey, do you guys play patriotic music? Well, now we're playing events for...
you said the Army.
Yeah, that was a cool thing. That was through well, that's a whole other side of it. It's sort of a local, but not really. It's an online website called Gig Salad. Gigsalad.com. And you go on there, and basically it's like a dating site. It's set up just like that. So like you
swipe right on venues you want to work at, and
sort of. But yeah, basically you type in there, I have this event, this date, and I'm looking for this in this area. And it'll give you all of the people, all the performers that are available that fit your genre, what you're looking for. So we signed up for that, and we pay a subscription for that, and it generally pays for itself, but has given us opportunities to do some cool gigs, like the U.S. Army one. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's
we did a lot of Veterans Day.
A lot of Veterans Days.
Yeah, a lot of patriotic
Memorial
things.
Day parades and patriotic things. 4th of July. We'd ended up doing a lot of those, and we actually, through that same service, we got connected with a military family. On our website, we have that video where...
yeah, that's right. I saw that, yeah.
Singing telegrams. Yeah,
singing
we
telegrams. It's awesome. Just all these things, because we made this one leap. And suddenly people started asking us about these other things, and that sort of told us which direction to go in next. So, we were here, we jumped to here on faith. But then it's like, oh, well, there's an open door there. There's, okay, well, here's like Mother's Day events. Well, wow, well, here's military, here's patriotic. Here's a church service over here. Here's Christmas. Here's
someone who wants to send a love song to her lover.
Exactly. And yeah, they want us to go ambush them in the department store where they work. Just these really cool things have come out. We got to play at an Orvis store. We drove the whole way to Charlottesville, Virginia. So, we've gotten to do some, heck, we've even gone to like coastal areas.
You said
down
cruise
in Delaware.
lines.
We worked on the cruise lines for a while. Yeah. So we just got to do a lot of cool stuff, and it all came from like basically 2 points, and then it all radiated out from there.
That's why it's wild how, cause you saying that, like, duh, of course that's an industry that's out there. For in regards to the ambushing thing, I was like, oh, Barbara, barbershop quartets do that a lot of the time.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the things that barbershop quartets usually get into is music telegrams.
Singing telegram. Yeah.
Singing telegrams. That's I'm a really big fan of barbershop quartet, but that's one of the things that they typically do is to because that's a large swath of barbershop content is love music. So it's really interesting how you guys as just guitar and voices are just able to do so many more things than just working at bars or these places that really don't hold your values.
Right.
And you can support these people that not only hold your values, but you're creating invaluable memories for these veterans, for these lovers, for these different people that are people that need a Christ centered band.
Yeah.
To really, and there's not a lot of those. There's not a lot of those around. Not at least locally. Right. There's you have your U2s and your Hillsongs and all that jazz, but on a local level to have a Christ-centered team that's not a worship team that does church every single day, but does private events and goes around and really spreads the gospel through smaller ways is really incredible.
Yeah, and there's everything you just said is true. I'm thinking of National Day of Prayer events.
Mm-hmm.
We just did that a few weeks ago in Mount Joy at their breakfast that they had. We led the music for that, and it kind of makes you. I walked out of there feeling like this must be what it was like in ancient Israel for the musicians and the priests to do
David.
their thing for David. It's not just we're not just playing music and making people feel good, although there is definitely a place for that. We're fighting. We are equipping the soldiers that are out doing everything God's telling them to do, paying the price. They're working hard and they're coming into this place, and some of them are bleeding. Some of them are really just they're worn out. They're tired. Yeah, they're frustrated. And then here come these songs, and here comes this room for the Holy Spirit of God to come and refill them again. And that's how we fight.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to be able to do things like that we know has a spiritual value, that God is looking at that and says, yes, that's valuable. That pleases me, which in turn pleases us.
It's giving me chills just thinking about there was a youth event that I went to. It was called Recharge, and I was like, that's a bunch of baloney, because I know it's going to be concerts nonstop, and if anything, concerts wear people out. But it's always been the case that when it comes to worship, if it's done right, oh my goodness, can you go from tired, I don't want to do anything, to I'm ready to jump around this whole entire stadium just like that. Like that. And it's really interesting how song has such a impact on the human nature or the human mind, and it's really incredible. One ministry that I used to be a part of is the Lancaster has pianos down around town, right?
Right.
Yeah, the Keys for the City project. And one thing that I used to do is I would just go down there and play around. And one of the passersby came up to me and he started talking. And I'm an introvert, so I was like, okay, this is kind of awkward. I don't know what to really do here. But I just kept playing around. I was listening to him. I was also just noodling around because I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
I was a little awkward, but he was telling me his whole life story, and then at the end of it, he was like, you know what? I really needed that. And I was just playing music underneath his story, and he started crying and all this stuff that he was just feeling so many things, and he was like, as more people started to do that, and it was really almost a religious experience for them.
Sure.
Because as some point I started to play along with the piano to their story. I would, a sad thing comes on here, play a minor chord, a sad sounding thing. If something's upbeat, I pick up the tempo. And it was just a cool little experiment for me, just to mess around. But for them, it really made their day.
Yes.
So it's surprising to me how much worship or just music in general can really taint. And we've all been through life. When you're through puberty, you go through those, the emo songs, or you have your go-to songs that make you happy, or
Right.
if you listen to sad songs, maybe you put on Desperado by the Eagles and you just rock side to side. And that's what I do when I'm sad.
Desperado.
You're right. Yeah, I just kind of slowly go to sleep with tears in my eyes, as I'm being lullabied by the Eagles. It's incredible what music can do for you,
Yeah.
and so much more so if it's about God.
Absolutely. He'll use it.
So with all of that, I have one of my questions to ask you.
All right.
What do you consider worship?
In a musical sense or just in general?
In as however you want to respond to it.
Okay. Well,
Should be a way of life.
that's what I was going to say, but I'd have been a lot more verbose about it. I usually am. Yeah, absolutely should be a way of life. We'll erroneously call the music at the beginning of the service worship. And it is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's only
Part one of worship.
5% of what worship
Yeah.
actually is. Submit yourself to the Lord, surrender yourself to Him.
Mind, body, and strength.
Yeah,
Lord.
that's the essence of what it really is. It's about surrendering to Him, and being meek in the sense of not meek and mild, but in the sense of I have all this strength He has given me, and it is 100% at His direction and under His control. Every step I take, every choice I make, even the thoughts I allow in my mind, that's all part of my reasonable spiritual act of worship, as the Scripture says, because it's all His, and really just offering that back to Him.
That's a good answer.
Is that a good answer?
That's
All
a
right.
very good answer. Well, because one of the conversations we have here at Lancaster Bible College, as in the music worship performing arts department, they recently changed their name, so I had to think about it. Is worship isn't only what you're doing on the stage; it's what you're doing all the time, and it's as yes, we're worship leaders, but we have to be theologians as well.
Oh,
And because how are you going to write biblically sound music without knowing the Bible or knowing God? Being a theologian, you can make countless songs about God if you didn't know anything about Him, but they're not going to be correct. They're going to be heretical.
well, that's a responsibility
Yeah.
too.
That's a
Because
responsibility. Yes.
It's very easy. Anytime we do anything in public, I have specific things that I ask the Lord for every time. And one of them is set a guard on my mouth, because it's so easy to hurt someone or say something that they accept as true, even though it's really not. And you can affect their lives for years or longer. So the fact that we've been talking for 2.5 hours is in a sense dangerous,
Oh, for sure.
because there might be something that somebody's listening to right now. Look, if anything we said on the radio or said to you now doesn't line up with Scripture, don't listen to us.
Right.
Don't listen to Corey. Don't listen to us, because we're wrong and he's right.
And we're just as fallible as you.
100%.
And all fall short of the glory of God, is Romans right there. So definitely don't take any of, and don't, like, even your favorite preachers.
Oh.
They can be wrong. There's been a tribe recently of those preachers. Billy, I'm a Billy Graham, or I'm a John Furtick,
Right.
or all the preachers' names are escaping me right now. The one in California, what's his name? The popular one.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Yeah,
Jeremiah.
Well, I don't know. One
Yeah.
says I'm from Paul, I'm of Apollos. Another that's
right,
been going
yeah,
on for
exactly.
2,000
Yeah,
years.
so it's pointless. You got to be from Christ.
That's what our songs "Speak to Me" is about. Get in
Yeah.
your Bible, get in it, read it, get a translation that's easy for you to understand. Get in it. Get to church every Sunday, someplace where they're in it, and really talking about what's in there, and give God that chance to tell you what's true. Don't listen to.
Don't rely on pastors, because there are wolves in sheep's clothing that will direct you to all sorts of incorrect and bad. Think about all the cults that have popped up over the years.
And somehow it always benefits them and not
It
you.
always benefits. Yes, yeah, that's how it works. Um, one of the things I had to be careful about was what language and like how the perception, because a Christian to somebody can mean, oh, they're a really nice person, but a Christian to someone else, whenever I say, oh, I'm a Christian, they think, oh, you hate me.
Right.
And that's it's entirely, it's not because that's it's because of their past experiences. You got to think about that. When I say I'm a Christian, of course I mean I follow God. I follow, love your neighbor as yourself. I'm not gonna disrespect you just because of whatever. I love you. I love you as my neighbor. To them, they might think, oh, you're just gonna hate me, and you're gonna tell me I'm going to the HE double hockey sticks because of all these different things that I do, whether or not, however big or small they are.
Right.
Like the suit and tie kind of Christians that think they're bigger than everyone else. There's some Christians that do that. They think, oh, it's rules for thee, but not for me, kind of thing. So it's a constant battle for whether you're a Christian or not, just trying to talk to somebody and have them understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So what is one thing that you know now that you would wish you had known when you started? And this can be relational, this can be God, this can be music. I love every time you're lost for words, you look at your wife and say
Sure.
something. Say something.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know how much fun and how much work it was really going to be.
Yeah. A lot of both.
Yeah.
A lot of both. Work and fun. Yeah, I guess I want to say just find what's true. I lived a lot of years believing a lot of lies. And I guess that would be the main thing is, and not even realizing it, not realizing how important that was to get rid of those lies. Just ask God to get the lies out of your life now. That's as quick as you can, and he'll give you as much as you can stand at a time. But yeah, I would go back and I would just tell myself the truth about a lot of things that I used to lie to myself about. So
A branch off of that is, I don't know the answer, but what is one thing that you always assumed to be true in the Bible that you found out later wasn't?
in Scripture,
Yeah. One thing that was like, that people would always say, oh, this is what Jesus says, but you found out actually that's not what it says at all.
God helps them that helps themselves.
Oh, yeah.
That irritates me now. The other one is money is the root of all evil.
Yes.
No.
No, it's the love
The
of
love
money.
of money is the root of all evil.
Yes, it's the love of, yeah.
So if you want to irritate me, just,
Take a scripture verse out of context.
even that Pink Floyd song Money, they say that in there. And it's like, you know what? I like the song, but every time I just want to,
Wrong.
that's wrong.
Yeah. One of the things for me was I can do everything. I can do everything because of Christ. That one verse.
Philippians 4:13.
Philippians. Yep, that's the one. I can do everything through Christ in me. It's like no, you're wrong.
Take it out of context.
Take it out of the context, and you can do anything.
And I'm Superman. I can go jump off the building and fly away.
Exactly.
No.
Nope.
I can do anything God calls me to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for those distinctions to get lost.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when we live in a culture that is so self-absorbed with each other, and wants self-help and all that kind of stuff.
What's our time? We do just like one or two.
Yeah,
minutes?
I was actually gonna ask you one last question.
Oh, okay, that's perfect.
So, what is one of the best or worst things that happened on the show? Like silly, funny moments, or
during a show?
yeah. Did you think
you're
of one?
laughing? You have one.
Yeah.
No?
I can't think of anything that happened with us.
Like back in when we were playing bars, there was a lot of things. It's like, I hope that never happens again.
Oh, yeah.
But recently,
Oh yeah, playing in bars. People came up.
Back in the bar scene, one of the
Oh,
main
my.
reasons we got out was a guy named Fast Fred. He was a colorful character. He was very drunk, and she was playing keyboard at the time, and he literally came up and stood
This far from me.
like
Kept
6
asking me
inches
to-
from her face, asking her to dance,
Oh,
breathing
Yeah.
beer
no.
all over her. It was, yeah. So I don't really miss the bar scene very much because we had some wild things happen there. More recently than that, probably one of the funniest things is once in a while we'll play at a like a memory unit, Alzheimer's, dementia sort of a thing, and the ladies there find me very interesting.
Oh yeah.
And
They
yeah,
have no filter.
no filter at all. So the things they say are really funny.
Oh my.
They're very honest.
I could only imagine.
So, and they'll ask if I'm married to her, and then get very disappointed when I say I am. And,
Oh.
Yeah, they don't like me a whole lot.
and once in a while, the guys will proposition you. And so those are always funny.
I'm glad you guys find humor in that.
Oh, you have to.
You have to at
because
some point, yeah.
The other thing that happened, we at a few years ago. In fact, one of the songs, is it In Jesus' Name, or the other one at National Day of Prayer, probably 3 or 4 years ago. One of the songs that we played, we actually wrote it like 2 weeks before that, and
That
it
was for the sake.
it was for the sake of your great name is the name of the song, and it's on our website too, sweetlifemusic.com. It's based on Daniel chapter 9, where Daniel's prayer for his nation, and that the year that was the theme for the National Day of Prayer. So we wrote this awesome song. We played it. Everybody was moved, and the lady came up afterward and asked, was that Michael W. Smith? And we said, no, that was one of ours. And she disagreed with us vehemently.
She said, no, that's a Michael W. Smith song.
Sure.
She said, but I can't find it under his name on.
Oh, I
on
wonder
Fa-"
why.
Gee.
I said, well, because it's not a Michael W. Smith song. Yes, she said, I know it is.
Which is like irritating and flattering all at once.
Right, yeah, right.
I kept saying, no.
So that was like sort of awful and cool all at the same time, that she thought we were of that caliber. So
Well,
Yeah.
hey, this has been a wonderful time.
it really
Thank
has.
you.
Yeah, so you can find them sweetlifemusic.com. And you can find all of their events there. You can contact them through that website. If you have a great time and you want to follow me more and this podcast, you can click like and subscribe on Facebook. Follow. Next up, I'm gonna have my good friend and roommate Hunter Wood. He is the director of Victory Church in Ephrata. He's the worship director there. I'm going to have him on this Friday at 10 a.m. So if you want to hear more stuff about Christian life and how it works in the church, because it's a completely different ball game than gigging around, be sure to tune in at that time. With that said, we're going to sign off. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank